A Walmart store in El Paso, Texas was home to a horrific shooting over the weekend. And now there are growing calls for Walmart and big companies in general to do more to combat gun violence, including an open letter written to Walmart CEO Doug McMillon by our colleague Andrew Ross Sorkin. The argument, beyond the politics of gun control, ending gun sales in stores could be a smart business decision for retailers like Walmart. Joining me now, principal at Risk Reversal Advisors, my friend Dan Nathan. Dan, Walmart's largest competitors, Target, Amazon, don't sell firearms. But you and I are sitting in a newsroom in New York City. Yeah. We might not understand all of the Walmart customers, especially in other regions in the U.S. What's the right thing for Walmart to do? They're not selling semi-automatic weapons.
No, they're not. You know, Andrew's op-ed was really interesting because he used the term leverage on numerous occasions, and this is what Walmart as a corporation has the ability to do, to apply some leverage on things that they care about. And when you think about it, it's not just their customers. Walmart employs over 2 million people here in the U.S. They account for 10% of our total retail sales, over $500 billion in sales. And so,
biggest employer, I mean.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Half their sales are coming from groceries. So you just made the point, Amazon, they are in an arms race with Amazon, who's getting 50% of new e-commerce sales. So Walmart is spending a lot of money to catch up on e-commerce. So what do they need? They need things where their rural customers are interested in coming into their stores and buying. And one of those things is guns. And one of the things I think is really interesting about Andrew's op-ed is that guns are just an immaterial part of Walmart's sales. But they don't really probably want to go out and alienate a certain part of their customer base or their employer base, that sort of thing. So they have to walk a very fine line. And I think that's why after Parkland last year, they were very careful to put some things in place that restrict sales, but not restrict all sales.
Well, we know Dick's Sporting Goods walked that fine line after the Parkland shooting. They stopped selling semi-automatic weapons. I spoke to their CEO, Ed Stack, last night. Here's what he said.
I will tell you, we had a number of people who are avid shooters and hunters and outdoorsmen who said, we understand this. We don't think that there's a need for the assault-style rifle, and continue to be a part of our customers. There was a lot who left us, and we understood that, and we knew that that was going to happen. But there was an awful lot of people who endorsed this, and to me, this is an easy decision. It was an expensive decision for us, but I can tell you, if we had a chance to do it all over again, we'd do it all over again exactly the same way.
Ed has said semi-automatic weapons are killing machines. For hunting and fishing enthusiasts, if you're a hunter and you need a semi-automatic weapon, you might want to find a new hobby. You're not very good at it. These companies, when they're looking at what they can do, is the answer, take a closer look at the NRA. Take a look at lawmakers, whether you're talking Dick's Sporting Goods or Walmart or any other major company. We know they're big donors to politicians. Politicians make decisions based on how much money they get. If they suddenly said, hey, Mitch McConnell, you don't bring a vote on background checks, you don't get $1 from me. Is that the next lane they should be in?
I just don't think they'll do it. I mean, we've seen this time and time again over social issues. It's just a really tough spot. You know, Andrew used the example of Mark Benioff, who I think you know very well, a very progressive CEO. I think that his customer base and, you know, the powers that be there are really for what he stands for. I'm not
San Francisco company.
That's right. I'm not sure Walmart customers really care. And I'll just say, if you want leverage, look at the Waltons. They own 50% of Walmart. Apply some leverage to them, and they might be able to affect some serious change.
The Walton family. That's Dan Nathan's suggestion.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.